we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the Aboriginal traditional custodians of this land. And I'd also like to pay respects to elders past and present, the spirits and ancestors, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal people present. Okay, so we've got the audio visual working now. My name's Rob Emerson. I'm the Acting General Manager and I'll be the MC of this evening's online session. But more importantly, we have with us presenting North Sydney's Mayor, Councillor Zoe Baker, and we also have Margaret Palmer, the Director of Corporate Services. Just some housekeeping rules first. This session's being recorded and will be made available from Council's website soon after. And all participants' microphones will be muted throughout the session. If you are participating via a computer or a smart device, you can use the chat forum to submit a question during the session. After our presentation, we will respond to all questions. Just to provide you with just an overview, there's a statutory requirement that we undertake these plans that we're presenting tonight. We have to undertake a community strategic plan, and the community strategic plan is the long-term vision from the community. So that's our principal strategic plan for the council. And then it falls into a delivery program. And a delivery program is a 4-year program, and it basically identifies the programs and the capital works that the council's going to undertake to achieve what's identified in the community strategic plan. And then, I know this is a lot of council speak, but we also have operational plans. And the operational plan is a 1-year plan. So it's the 2022-23 plan that identifies the budget for that financial year and what projects and services we will be providing. So you have opportunities to ask questions about the draft plans, and we have some pre-submitted questions that we've received that we'll answer towards the end. And you can also use the live chat room function. So where to from here? Let's use it.
So I've been asked just to talk quickly about the community strategic plan, and I suppose it's from an elected person and on behalf of the community. You heard from Rob that the community strategic plan is something that all councils have to do once every 4 years. In my very strong view, it's the most important document that guides the council, and so it really has to be what it says it is, which is the community's strategic plan. And that's why this engagement process is so important, so that we make certain that this is a new council with a refined and new vision that we hope is reflective of the community, and we will be guided by the community and the community feedback following the close of the exhibition period. So my biggest message to community members is be involved and have your voice heard, because if it's not in this community strategic plan, then council can't engage in doing whatever the activity is. You'll see that it's a very high level plan. It truly is a strategic plan. There are 5 themes, a new vision statement, new guiding principles, and those principles relate to sustainability, integrity and inclusivity. And I'm very strongly of the belief that those guiding principles will guide every part of the council organisation and the elected level in serving the community. So here's the vision statement in this draft plan, and it is a draft community strategic plan. It won't be finalised until it's reported back to council after this exhibition period. So the voices and views of the community will define it. I don't know whether to read it for you. I hate PowerPoint presentations where people read them to you, but I think the vision and the mission, the vision in particular, is important to guide people's responses to the plan. So North Sydney is a welcoming, connected and resourceful community which acknowledges its past, enjoys the present and plans for our future. We respect our beautiful harbourside locale, its unique villages and much valued bushland and open spaces. We lead the way in sustainability. So it truly is a vision statement. It's about forward looking and the future. These, as I said, are the guiding principles: sustainability, and that's quadruple bottom line, environmental, social, economics and governance, and the community being stewards, both from a local perspective and playing our part globally. Inclusivity, so social justice principles should underline and inform and be the foundation of the council's actions. Recognition and celebrate the unique and different people in our community. And I think really importantly that, and I think it is reflective of the community as it is now, that there really is a strong sense of community in North Sydney. And I think most importantly, because without this, the council would be doomed to failure and not representative of our community, integrity. So it's a really important tranche and pillar of this document, that open government, transparency, accountability and strong public participation are embraced by the plan, and then that defines both how the elected and the administrative arm of the council will perform. So, as I said, it's very high level. The plan seeks to address these 4 key questions. Where are we now? Where do we want to be in 10 to 20 years' time? How will we get there? And how will we know we've arrived? So on that basis, it starts with a vision and guiding principles, and there'll be indicators, and all of the policies and strategies will fall out from under the community strategic plan and have to be consistent with it. So here are the key directions: our living environment, our built infrastructure, our innovative city, our social vitality, and our civic leadership. So I think consistently throughout the last few decades, the environment and sustainability has been the #1 concern of our community. And so that's what we start the plan with. The plan asks, where do we want to be in 2040? And you'll see that those directions are that we have a protected, enhanced and biodiverse natural environment, an environmentally sustainable community, clean and green spaces and well-utilised open spaces and recreational facilities. And so you'll see from that that it's a very high level, but it is a guide for all of the other policies and practices of the council. The next one is our built infrastructure. Again, the constant question, where do we want to be? Infrastructure and assets meet diverse community needs, vibrant public domains and villages, prioritise sustainable and active transport, efficient traffic mobility and parking. The third direction is our innovative city, and it looks to see about to ensure that we have commercial centres that are prosperous and vibrant, that it's a smart and innovative city, and a distinctive place and design excellence. And again, these are aspirational targets on behalf of our community. Our social vitality, and the aspirations here and the vision is that North Sydney is connected, inclusive, healthy and safe, and it's a centre for creativity and learning, and that the history of North Sydney is preserved and recognised. That's really important when we all know that we're an education centre. And our civic leadership, and that comes back to integrity and public participation. So we want to lead North Sydney's strategic direction. with strong civic leadership, customer-focused services, and a community that is engaged in what council does. I'd go so far as to say that guides what council does, and that council services are efficient and easy to access.
So just back to me, this is, I know I've said this once, but I'm just going to go over it one more time. The community strategic plan is the long-term vision. It's what the community, how the community wants to see North Sydney in 2040. So it is the guiding principle, it's the guiding strategic document for the council. What falls below that is the delivery program, and the delivery program is a 4-year document, and it's a 4-year document of actions of how the council's going to achieve the objectives of the community strategic plan, and it's a 4-year program of estimates. Falling beneath that, and it's the delivery plan and the operational plan that currently are on public exhibition. The operating annual plan is an annual plan, so it's just for the next financial year, and it looks at the first year of the 4-year delivery program. So, as the Mayor suggested earlier, this is a really exciting time. These are the documents that are basically, I always see them as a contract between the community and the council, and so it's imperative that the community everyone has a good say in how they want these documents formed, so that we can go forward and deliver on the community's objectives. Whoops.
Following on from there, it becomes a question of marrying the planning process and the community strategic plan and the projects that make up the delivery program to ensure that whilst implementing these as a community, that we can actually become and stay financially sustainable. So one of the key documents, one of the key plans is the 10-year financial plan. And that really, at the first 4 years of that, certainly the first year is a very detailed budget, which is next financial year's budget. And then there's the 4-year delivery program, which is broken into individual projects for those 4 years. And those projects summarise what the council will deliver project by project over those 4 years. And that all of those projects have a budget attached to them. And if there is no budget, they're not in the delivery program. And that's why it's important as well for the community to engage with this process. That 4-year planning delivery program, it's really key because it maintains the council's focus on the projects that have been agreed upon and that have a budget wrapped around them, and has a very strong governance around anything added to that or anything taken away from that, because that's our, as the acting GM was saying, our contract with the community. So that's how that fits together. So clearly year 1, which is next financial year, is quite detailed and very specific. The further out into those 10 years we go, particularly past the 4-year delivery program, become more, I guess, less certain in terms of the actual detail. But it's important for the community to know that every new financial year, as we move through that plan, that's interrogated and forecast further out. So annually, we're always looking at the following financial year, but we're also re-engaging with the long-term financial plan over that 10-year period, which I think that's what I have to say on that slide, but I think that actually probably covers the following slide as well, which is certainly about the, sure where we are with that slide, but certainly actually demonstrates that through that slide number 19, where it's actually showing the the difference in the 4 years and 1 year plans, and how we derive the budgets and how we derive and finance the actual 4 year plan, and take you through the structure, which is I guess the key element is the delivery program and how that's broken down. So there's a couple of views. So what happens with the 4 year delivery program is, whilst it's a collection of projects and represents the full suite of things that we're going to deliver to the community, it's so that it can be achievable, so that it can be, people can be held accountable for it. It's broken down by divisions such as open space, courses, and so forth. So each one of those projects in the 4 year delivery program has a responsible officer, and I think it's important to know how strong KPIs around the delivery and the dates when those projects will be delivered. That's all on that.
I'll take
Yeah.
just quickly, and this is really just a snapshot, and when you read the documents in full, you'll see more detail, but just some capital works highlights for 22-23. The Quarantine Boat Depot site, the council purchased that site recently, and we've got some money to undertake the improvements so that we can open that fantastic site on Berries Bay to the public. So that's an exciting project and a great highlight. The second one on the list is 1 Henry Lawson Avenue, and I'm sure everybody knows where 1 Henry Lawson Avenue is, but it's that building in the park, and the building is going to be demolished and returned as parkland, which will be a great achievement for the council and the community. Hume Street Park expansion, we're working up at Hume Street at the moment, and it's a fantastic project, and we'll be rolling out stage 2 over the next financial year. We've got a lot of playground upgrades. We've got a large playground in St Leonard's Park that will be undertaken, Prior Avenue, and another suburban playground at Cremorne Point. We're also doing some significant public domain upgrades in Crow's Nest, Kirribilli and McMahon's Point, Neutral Bay and Cremorne as per the master plans, and they'll be undertaken next year, and they will roll out through the whole period of the delivery plan, the whole 4 years. We're also, a lot of people have asked, certainly me, the question in the past about what's happening to the ex-bowling club at Waverton Park, and that's currently a matter before the Land Environment Board as an Aboriginal lands claim. If the Aboriginal lands claim is not successful, then the council's looking to demolish the derelict building and merge that site back into the Waverton Park, which will be fantastic when that can be delivered. We've also got a number of cycleway projects per the integrated cycling strategy, and they roll out next year and they continue to roll out. We're building outdoor fitness equipment in Brennan Park. We're kayak storage facilities at Milson Park. The Molly Dive's being upgraded to provide better media equipment, and we've got a visitor economy strategy being implemented. So a whole range of projects out of the operational plan that feed into the aspirations of the community's community strategic plan. Okay, so then if we, I'll move through these a little quicker because they're in subsequent years, 23, 24. North Sydney Oval Pool redevelop, the pool will be completed, the construction will be completed in 23, 24. The commencement of a comprehensive heritage review will be undertaken in 23, 24. The implementation of the Ward Street Master Plan. We have to upgrade some drainage at Bon Andrews Oval, and we're building more playgrounds in Green Park Lodge Road. We're upgrading some of the, we've got some beautiful in North Sydney, some beautiful heritage lookouts, and a Lady Gowrie lookout is one of those that's going to be undertaking a restoration. And the community strategic plan, one of the aspirations is more harbour access. So we're providing more kayak storage on the foreshore at John Street and Tunks Park and Anderson Park. We have a program at St Leonard's Park currently that I'm sure most of the community has seen, where we're implementing our master plan, and certainly the first few stages are completed and are it's beautiful, and the park is looking fantastic as a result of it. And we'll be continuing to deliver that master plan in 23-24. We've got a significant problem with the lack of public open space, but more specifically with sports grounds in North Sydney, where demand is outstripping supply, and we're looking to reconfigure and provide an additional full-size playing field at Primrose Park. Oops. Along with that, there's the normal street furniture upgrades in village centres, further fitness equipment, further playgrounds, access improvements at Dowling Street Reserve, upgrading amenities blocks at Waverton Park, building additional public toilets at the coal loader, and undertaking some further refurbishment work at North Sydney Oval. In 25-26, just some of the highlights, but there are more projects than we're just highlighting this evening. But public domain upgrades in Crow's Nest, North Sydney CBD, Neutral Bay, Cremorne continue to get rolled out. Street lighting upgrades in village centres, and the Bradfield Park foreshore upgrade. We have a master plan for Bradfield Park, and anyone that's been down to the foreshore will see that it's in a degraded state. And in 25-26, we will be implementing the master plan to upgrade that foreshore area.
Just, I'll do it prior to just talking through the next couple of slides. I'll just do a quick recap on last financial year in terms of June 21, because this, in a way, these statements follow on from the last briefing that was taped, which you're welcome to have a look at. And I was speaking about the financial, I guess, how stable the finances were at the end of June 21, and then of course we've commenced this new year now. So we've been working to continue that theme and to ensure that we take a very responsible view of the finances, and that we continue the strong governance that we've got over our finances, including ongoing audits, and with an audit coming up and almost completed, and with a number of other strong internal controls to ensure that the council's financial state and also its actual physical resources are protected, and that there's transparency over all of the systems and so forth that go to make a very strong governance around the way in which this council manages its financial situation. So this slide is really demonstrating and taking you through where we are. We're forecasting where we will finish the 30th of June 2022, and where we think we will finish in terms of the bottom line, if you like, or the financial assets that we hold for the next financial year. So at the moment, we're looking at, for this financial year, we've got an operating result from continued operations of 16,731,000, as you can see. And we are showing, after grants and contributions, a loss of 1.9 million, which is essentially a reflection of non-cash items and things such as depreciation and a number of other things that we've brought to account. This year we've been through a big revaluation of our assets and a number of other items, and we have made quite a bit of money on some of the assets, but we've also got some written down values as well. So we are have suffered somewhat from our original estimates due to COVID and due to some of our income streams being less than we planned or less than we hoped when we first cast the budget or first cast the long-term financial plan, which we've spoke about before, the 10-year financial plan. But we are finishing a lot better than I think we hoped, because we're starting to recover from COVID. And that's reflected in 22-23 finishing position, which has become back to a small surplus. And as you go through this statement, you can see where the variations are. The grants and capital provided for capital purposes, there's been quite a reduction of 68% there. And there's been some other variations. If you go down, other expense, we've saved some money on other expenses. So we've had a we've coming back to in 2022-23, or we could say almost a balanced budget. And as we move out in a future slide, you'll see how that's reflected in the 10-year long-term financial plan. I think probably an equally important slide. This is talking about the actual reserve cash balances that the council have, and it talks about external and internally restricted funds. The internally restricted funds are committed to projects and cannot be we have no control over it. We can't spend them in any way, make any decisions or spend them on projects that are not listed there. So it's tied money for a specific purpose. Whereas the internal restricted reserves, the council has some control over those reserves in terms of how they are spent. However, obviously not over the employee leave entitlements. And so that goes to a list of our reserves. We're working on building up the reserves the best we can after a period of when we went through, we're going through a merger situation. Some of the reserves were undone, so we're trying to build those up again. So at the moment, they're quite strong throughout the whole, I guess, the financial years. As you can see, as you move across, they are increasing in 22-23, 47.5 million, and as they go up 23-24 with 48. So you can see as we trend over the years, particularly over the next 4 years, they are, which is in line with the 4-year delivery programme, we are progressively increasing those reserves and have very, very tight control about how those reserves are accessed and spent, because we have to also report to the government about those. Just to, on the next slide, just to say that we, as part of the way in which we prepare the budgets, there are rules around from the local government office around how we prepare them, what we use to prepare them. And in the planning rules, we have to present 3 scenarios, and we've used the plan scenario. However, we have modelled all of our financials on 2 others, pessimistic and optimistic. So we've chosen the plan scenario, which we think, and I list here the which are the assumptions that we make in there. We've got the CPI increase now. Let's hope that doesn't get completely out of control with the recent government announcements. The rate peg, that is controlled, and we were given a 0.9%. However, we do have a one-time SRV special rate variation in, which we're waiting to hear about, which we'll hear about in the next couple of weeks. And you can see that we've got employee the award, and as I was saying, we'll end up with a modest surplus.
Can I just interrupt and to say that that 0.9% rate peg increase was across the whole of the state. It was set by IPART, which is the Independent Planning and Regulatory Tribunal. Pretty much every council in the state has been allowed by the state government to seek an additional special variation of the rate to the planned scenario they had in their last year's delivery plan and operational plans. And so that isn't something the council has specifically sought. It's just that it keeps the council at the level that was planned, with the expectation that the IPART rate peg would be, as it had always traditionally been, between 2 and 3%.
That's exactly what happened. Well said. So we do have a draft revenue policy, and this really is related to what the mayor's just outlined. This is how we calculate. We've used that to calculate the rates, and going through that, you can see that we're showing here the 22-23, and we're comparing that, or at least we're showing you what the situation was 21-22. There's not a huge variation, and the percentages of to business and residential is not changed, and unlikely to change in any time in the future. We don't derive as much income from this council as some other councils do in terms of the rates that they levy. I won't mention where I live, but I can tell you it's like 3 times as much. So this is basically just taking you through that calculation, and then which is then followed on with the infrastructure levy again, and it's basically showing you the comparison of the 2 financial years and how much, to be transparent, how much income we raise from these levies. And there's the environmental levy, again, same thing, and then we go on to the Main Street levies. So essentially,
and all of those are restricted. Council
Yes,
must
correct.
spend those levies on for the purpose for which they were raised. So, for example, in the Main Street levies, Crow's Nest, it's a levy on business properties. You'll see there's that is for the purposes of streetscape works. So those funds can only be spent for the design or construction of streetscape works.
and again, this is the domestic waste management charge, and it basically showing, the maximum for residential $25, and strata and company $12.50. Businesses are capped. So basically, these slides are really about transparency about some of the income streams that we've got included in our financial operational statement for this financial year and next financial year.
Okay, so that's pretty much the summary of the presentation. We've got a number of questions that have come in earlier, and I understand there are some in the chat room as well. So I might get Margaret to read the first question, and we'll provide the best response we can.
Okay, so this is about Hume Street Park. Given stage 2 ties in with the completion of Crow's Nest Metro Station, is it reasonable to expect that stage 2 of this project be completed by early 2024?
Right.
Is this achievable? A large question mark.
Yeah. Well, do you want me to answer that?
I'm happy to start and you can fill in. The council has allocated, in order to pursue the project, the council is required to obtain development consent for the stage 2 works. That is in progress. The council has allocated funds for the design and submission of a development application, which is underway. Once there is consent in place, then the funding for the works will be allocated. I think ideally we will be in a position to have it happen simultaneously with the opening of the metro, but the reality is, like other proponents of a project, we are reliant on the time to obtain the development consent, and then what's happening more broadly with the cost of construction and generally. So the aspiration is that we will have that in time for the opening of the metro station, subject to the time delays around obtaining the consent and commencing works. Is that?
Yeah, that's absolutely. That's the answer. I'll just add that the Unit 3 Park Stage 1 is almost finished, and it's looking fantastic, and it is fantastic, and the community will love it. We want to get on to Stage 2 as quickly as we can, because it is a project that we know that the community wants us to deliver, and certainly we want to deliver it. So we're working, as Zoe said, as hard as we can to make this happen by the time the metro opens in 24.
And I can say, as a long-time ward councillor, not only do we want it to happen, I think we have a moral and actual obligation to ensure it does, because, as you may know, the questioner, many of those funds, particularly to demolish the buildings, came from voluntary planning agreements from sites that had additional height and density. And the purpose of this expanded park is to somewhat ameliorate the impacts of that for the existing and future population.
Okay.
I'm happy to, I'm happy to ask and answer the next question.
Okay, you ask and answer.
Okay, so this is about the North Sydney Olympic Pool redevelopment. How much of the loan will have been paid out by the 30th of June 2022, and how much of the 30 million borrowings has been drawn down? We've drawn down, I'll start with that because it makes more sense that way. We've drawn down 31 million. We drew that down in April. We have, so therefore we've only had the, let's say the loan funds for 2 months, or less than that, actually. Well, yeah, sort of a month and a half. Oh no, so there's May, sorry, April, May and June. The exact figure I don't have to hand, but it would only be the from the mid-April to basically to a couple of months. So I will, if we need the exact figure, I will have to take that on notice. I just don't have the cents and dollars with me. That's any further question on that? There's the crow's nest. Shall I ask?
No. Well, a question in the chat room is, as I understand, the 4-year delivery program is a collection of projects included in the 4-year plan. If a project is not included, it won't have an opportunity to be considered until 4 years later. Is this correct?
I'll speak as an elected person. No, the council can reprioritise any of the projects at any time. And the best time to do it is in this period, in the lead up to the adoption of the budget.
And I'll follow up the Mayor's comments with, as the Acting General Manager, the delivery, we really encourage the community to identify projects that have come from the community plan to fall into the delivery plan, which will then become the operational plan. So as Zoe says, the council has always the right to reprioritise and bring on new projects as they see fit and as the circumstances arise. if you're listening to this presentation tonight and you have a project that you think is worthy to be in the delivery plan because it will go towards achieving those community objectives in the community plan, then this is the time to raise that project.
And I just really support what the Acting General Manager said. That's why it's important for you to engage now. This is a council, this new council, who are very keen to listen to community feedback to identify the priorities. So this is a draft plan. It is truly a draft plan. This is not ticker box community consultation. So give us your feedback so that reprioritisation can happen now.
Okay, and that's all the questions we have at the moment. But
we've got one more about Crow's Nest Public Domain Master Plan.
Okay.
Is expected to cost in the order of $10 million. The proposed funding allocated in the draft plan suggests a scaled down project. Clarification of the scope of works funded in the delivery program is requested, and will further community consultation on this project occur? So my understanding is that that's the 2015 master plan that was adopted for Crow's Nest. It's variously been budgeted at 8 million, but it's probably becoming closer to 10 million. It's envisaged, in my understanding, that it will happen in stages.
That's right.
And that's why in this delivery plan or this budget, there is a tranche of funds to start those works. In terms of community consultation, I'm not certain for stage 1 whether that's further is required. So if we may take that on notice, unless you've got...
No, we have to take that on notice.
We'll take that on notice and post a response.
So at the end of the questions, just a few next steps. You're all invited to provide feedback on the draft plans by 1 minute to midnight on the 21st of June 2022. You can do that through email, as it says on the screen, yoursay@northsydney.nsw.gov.au, or there are online forms that you can use to provide that feedback. The final plans will be reported to council, the council meeting on the 27th of June for hopefully adoption, and the plans will come into effect from the 1st of July 2022. Another issue, another action is that all of the operational plans, the 12-month plans, there are quarterly reports, so the community are kept up to date of how we're performing against those plans. And so there's quarterly reports provided to the community, and then an annual report. So I'd say thank you for participating. Encourage everyone you know to look at the community strategic plan and the budget and provide that feedback. If the last thing I'll say is this has been quite a tight time frame in terms of developing the community strategic plan, and a very tight time frame for exhibition, and then to go to a council meeting in June. That is unusual. The reason for that is that, and in my view, not ideal, but that was imposed by the state government, by the Office of Local Government, because there had been a delay in the elections from December, and they would not give any council an extended time for the preparation and adoption of those plans. So next year, for the next year's budget, this process of community consultation will be able to be undertaken with a little bit more time for contemplation and collection of your views. So thank you for participating. Thank you.
Thanks.